475 kilometers off the coast of Australia, there's a steel island that should not exist. It's longer than the Empire State Building is tall. It weighs 600,000 tons, as much as 6 aircraft carriers, and it floats in seas where the waves can reach 20 meters. But this is not a ship. It's a factory that freezes gas to minus 162 degrees while floating in the open ocean. So how do you build something like this? And why would anyone even try? Beneath the seabed off northwest Australia lie 2 gas fields called Prelude and Concerto, around 3 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. By offshore standards, that's modest, and it's stranded, far out at sea, with no pipeline and no plant anywhere near it. Normally, you'd bring the gas to land, hundreds of kilometers of pipeline, and a huge plant on the coast. For a field this small, that costs far too much to be worth it. So, Shell flipped the question. Instead of bringing the gas to the factory, they would bring the factory to the gas. Simple to say, brutal to do. Start with what a gas plant actually is. A land-based LNG plant is gigantic. It spreads across 50 acres of solid ground, with towers, tanks, pipes, and freezing machinery all spaced far apart. Now, shrink all of that down to a quarter of the size and stack it onto a single floating hull. That alone would be hard, but the real enemy isn't space, it's movement. On land, the ground never moves. At sea, everything moves. The hull rolls, it pitches, it twists, slowly and constantly. And inside, gas is being chilled until it turns to liquid. That process is delicate. Even small movements can throw it off. Tall, cold towers hate to tilt. Heat exchangers hate to sway. And if the process stops, restarting it can take a full day. Then there's the liquid itself. Tanks full of fuel at minus 162. When the sea rocks a half-full tank, the liquid slams against the walls with brutal force. So the challenge is clear. Build a freezing chemical plant, put it on something that never stops moving, and keep it alive for 25 years. You might think, it's a ship, so when a storm comes, just sail away. It can't. It's anchored over the gas field, with no engine to escape. When a cyclone comes, it has to stay and take the hit. And not a small one. This region breeds Category 5 cyclones, and the facility had to survive what engineers call a 10,000-year storm, without ever leaving its spot. A normal ship can run. A normal plant can be shut down and walked away from. This can do neither. It's full of explosive gas, with 200 people living on board. Ordinary mooring would snap. Ordinary tanks would crack. So the engineers had to invent the parts that wouldn't. The heart of the answer hides inside the bow. It's called the turret, a giant steel spindle running straight down through the front of the hull, about 93 meters tall and weighing 4,300 tons. The turret is locked to the seabed, but the entire 488-meter hull can spin freely around it. That's the trick. As the wind and waves shift, the whole facility slowly rotates to face them, what engineers call weathervaning. Instead of taking a storm side-on, it always turns its nose into the weather. Holding it all down are 16 mooring lines in 4 groups, reaching the seabed 250 meters below. They connect to 16 steel piles driven deep into the sea floor, each over 60 meters long and more than 5 meters wide. And to freeze the gas, engineers chose a process built to handle motion, cooled by the ocean itself, pulling in around 50 million liters of seawater every hour. Then came the hardest part, actually building it. And no single country did it alone. The loading arms were built and tested in France. Major parts were shipped in from around the world. But the giant body of the facility was built in one place, Samsung's shipyard on Geoje Island, South Korea, in one of the largest dry docks on Earth. In October 2012, the first steel was cut. The following May, the keel was laid, the spine of the whole structure. Workers welded together a double hull from more than 260,000 tons of steel, 2 hulls, one inside the other, for strength and safety. Meanwhile, in Dubai, the turret was being built in pieces, then shipped to Korea to be lowered into the hull. By late 2013, the bare hull was ready. They flooded the dock and floated it out, already the longest vessel ever built and still completely empty. Now, the real puzzle began, putting the factory on top. The plant was split into giant blocks called topside modules, and these were monsters, some weighing tens of thousands of tons each. 14 of them had to be lifted and set onto the deck. Imagine stacking an entire refinery onto a ship, where every pipe and tower has to survive being twisted by the sea. At the peak, up to 5,000 people were working on this single structure every day. By July 2017, after years of work, it was finally finished. Now, it just had to reach Australia. Tugboats hauled the giant across more than 3,000 nautical miles of open ocean to its spot in the Browse Basin. There, crews drove the piles, connected all 16 mooring lines, and linked the underwater wells up through the turret. The factory was now locked to the seafloor. Then came the moment of truth. Could it actually do the job it was built for? In 2018, gas from deep below was sent up into the plant for the first time, and out at sea, the freezing process came alive. By the end of that year, it produced its first liquefied natural gas. Gas turned to liquid, shrunk 600 times right there on the water. And in June 2019, a carrier pulled up alongside, and the first cargo was transferred ship to ship in the open ocean. It worked. The thing that took over 1.5 million hours of engineering to figure out was finally real. A factory making fuel in the middle of the sea. For a moment, it looked like the future. Prelude proved you could unlock gas fields the world had given up on. But building the impossible turned out to be only half the battle. Keeping it alive was the other half. Soon after starting up, the facility began to struggle. Power failures, safety scares, a fire in 2021 that knocked out the electricity while 200 people were on board. Then a long workers' strike and regulators stepping in. At one point, it was running at barely a third of what it was built to produce. A machine that cost well over $10 billion was now also being called a financial black hole, an engineering marvel that couldn't stay switched on. And that's the real lesson of Prelude. Humans can build almost anything, even a freezing factory that floats through cyclones. But it proved something humbling too. Sometimes the hardest part isn't building the impossible, it's keeping the impossible running, day after day, in the middle of the sea.